Jim Krane, you're a reporter and best-selling author of The Story of the World's Fastest City. You arrived in Dubai 6 years ago when the city was booming. What inspired you to write your book?
Well, I was a reporter with the Associated Press when I got here, and I had to write these 800-word stories, or 800-word max stories, and it just wasn't enough space to tell the story of this place. I mean, it was so exciting at the time. The place was booming. I just found I couldn't describe it properly, and I just had this pent-up urge, the longer I stayed here to tell the world about this extreme place.
And what experiences and stories were you keen to cover in the book? I understand you went to the labour camps and saw the darker side of Dubai.
Yeah, I wanted to tell all of it. I mean, it seemed like everything was happening here on an extreme level. It was extreme wealth to extreme poverty to, people being pampered and treated with huge favoritism by the government, and people who really suffered and had no rights at all. So I wanted to tell the gamut of it, from the people living in the grittiest labor camps or in these plywood partitioned rooms and knife, all the way up to the people living in palaces. I just wanted to tell the whole story of the place.
The darker side of the city is well documented now, but were you ever concerned about exposing this in your book?
Yes, I mean, yeah, of course I was concerned about it. I mean, I wasn't concerned about being arrested so much, but perhaps having trouble getting back into the country, and also about having my book, be allowed to be imported and sold here. Now, the bad press that came out about Dubai and the darker side of Dubai actually probably helped it, because it sort of portrayed my book as maybe a little bit more positive. I mean, my book is probably overall a positive portrayal of Dubai, even though it does get into some of the negative things.
And what astonishes you most about the city?
Well, the pace, the extreme pace of this place. I mean, 2 generations ago, it was Somalia, basically. You had extreme poverty, people living with no electricity, no running water, no roads, no cars, no ice. No one had ever had a cold drink, until the 1960s in this town. There was no concrete, there was no glass. And then all of a sudden in 1960, things began to change. And then, 10, 15 years later, the city was starting to become very wealthy, and then it became extremely wealthy. So you had this extremely compressed period of modernization. You've got people who were born in palm shacks who are billionaires. You've got people whose parents are illiterate who have PhDs. So I don't think there's another place on earth that's quite like it.
The city's changed drastically since the recession. Your book examines the viability of Dubai's economic model going forward. Do you think lessons have been learned, or what do you think the future holds?
Well, of course, lessons have been learned. But I think, in its defense, Dubai had it. People here saw that Dubai's got its window of opportunity right now, and they went for it. And so there was just this mentality of, well, look, we may not get this chance again, guys. Let's just go for it and see how far we get. And hey, when it crashes, so be it. It'll crash. That seemed to be the feeling. Now, yes, of course, there's been some lessons learned. Especially about using debt to invest. I think that's probably the biggest lesson. And the overhang, the property overhang, is almost inevitable, because there was such a demand that if people weren't building pell-mell, they wouldn't have been able to keep up with it. So, I think a lot of those projects will probably restart when demand comes back. But Dubai, going forward, is going to have to be a bit more modest, I think, and a bit smarter about energy consumption, especially. I mean, energy consumption here, per capita, on a personal basis, it's the highest in the world. People here use more energy and more water on average than anyone else on the planet, and that just can't go on.